We'd always said that we were making a little movie each week, and that was really the spirit in which the show was done.
There was always this idea that what we're doing is already big screen worthy.
I thought, this is the kind of show that we can flush out, and I wanted to exploit the visual tapestry that I thought that Chris and I were capable of.
We realized at the end of 5 years it would be a great time to do a big event, something that would celebrate and reward the hardcore viewers who had been watching this show for, since the beginning.
For Chris, it offers the show, I think, the ability to just expand and grow and do things that we're not able to do in the series, just being able to do things bigger and better.
I think the production values will be greater, the camera work and all of the above. More time being taken makes that richer, cleaner, better look. So it's like going from a quarter pounder to a half pounder.
The advantage that we had was that Chris, and I gotta say from the very beginning, was writing scripts that I understood, and he wrote this script knowing that I was going to direct it, and he wrote it right to my strengths.
As an actor, it's very easy for me to relate to Rob because I've been doing it for almost 4 years now. I mean, we have a shorthand.
Okay.
He understands the way I work, and I understand the way he works, so much better for me to come in to work for Rob on the movie set. There's a lot less anxiety about the newness of it to work with Rob.
This was not a process of me trying to meld towards somebody else's vision. This was cohesive from the beginning.
He understands the show. He understands the characters. And he's really good with the, the big toys and the things that he's got to do. I mean, he's always wanted to play with the expensive stuff. And so now we get both, a guy that knows the characters and knows the story and knows the show, and who's been dying to get his hands on, the rich boys' toys. So he's kind of the perfect director for it.
The trick was to do a movie that wasn't just for X-Files fans, but would appeal to any kind of moviegoer. And it was a trick because you didn't want to do anything to insult the hardcore audience. Like you didn't want to have to reestablish the characters, redefine who they were. So we had to bury some character development inside the beginning of the movie, and we did it in, I think, a humorous way.
They've closed the X-Files. There's procedure to be followed now, protocol.
Maybe we should call in a bomb threat to Houston. I think it's free beer night at the Astrodome. The scope of the movie is what has been going on with aliens for the past 45, 50 years, for the past 2,000 years, for the past 30,000 years. So you'd have to say that the scope has been enlarged for the big screen.
There's a sequence in the film where primitive humans track an alien into a cave and kill it, and are in turn then infested by its blood. So to make them look like primitive men, we've sculpted rubber appliance pieces that fit over their features to give them the appropriate primitive human look. And of course, we finish it off with a wig and with eyebrows and facial hair.
Once we start producing pieces in foam out of the molds, the biggest step is to do continual fittings to make sure that we do all the alterations here in the shop rather than getting on set and finding out there are wrinkles or buckles in the suit that just don't look proper for this particular character. When this foam rubber skin is completely finished in patching and it's been painted, it's glued onto a fiberglass underskull, and my head is back inside. These will be mechanical eyes, and it'll be a mechanical jaw and lip assemblies and everything to make the face move. My face is back, probably as deep back as this, and I will be looking, hopefully, if I'm lucky, I'll be looking through slots in the nose to at least see where I'm going. For each of the different versions of the alien creatures, they each have their own different head. One is a hero head, which is fully articulated, capable of expression. The other head has been sculpted into a roaring expression, and that is to facilitate it being able to open its jaw much wider than the hero head is capable of. So one of Dan's goals is to be able to paint the two heads so identically that we are able to cut from one to the other without being aware that it's a completely different skin, a completely different head.
You're saying that this is a cover-up? Of what?
I don't know, but I have a hunch that what you're going to find here won't be easily categorized or referenced.
The movie begins with Mulder having a hunch about part of the conspiracy.
Somebody's covering their tracks.
And then stumbles into proving his hunch and finds his way very deep into the conspiracy, almost trippingly. And we fall right into the heart of a conspiracy that you don't have to know anything about the TV show to jump on board the story.
We brought the atmosphere back down to freezing in order to control the development, which is like nothing we've ever seen.
This is one of the victims of the alien infestation. This is the cave fireman, as we call him. This is a sculpture that ultimately will be transformed through our mold-making processes into a clear skin, wherein you will see the embryonic alien buried in the chest of this guy, and he's still alive. His eyes will open and close. He'll breathe. His head will move. So he's going to be in agony. And what Jeff is doing right now is sculpting it so that it looks like he's withering away, as if the creature is sucking all of the proteins and nutrients out of the victim for its own use.
Well, that's one of the things I like about the character is that, yeah, he's very cerebral, but, you know, he can get out there and jump on a train and, you know, run around and get beat up and do things like that. So I'm used to doing those kind of things. And on this, there's been a lot of physical stuff. We were chased by helicopters at an altitude that was a little too low for my liking, or at least my hair's liking. What
is called upon us within the script is more heightened than you usually find in the series. There's a lot of climbing, there's a lot of running, there's a lot of lifting for David, there's a lot of falling for me.
I don't get beat up and I don't fight and I don't pull my gun, but it seems like it's been a really difficult physical shoot. There's been a lot of climbing and jumping and running and ducking and leaping, and that's all fun to do. You know, that's just like, it's like playing a game.
This is Mulder and Scully running away from the cave-in, and behind them is collapsing ice that's actually outrunning them. And they're burdened by the fact they're exhausted. Scully is barely alive herself. Mulder is hardly able to carry her any faster. And eventually the cave-in overtakes them, and they fall in out of frame. We don't know what happened to them. And that's all I'm going to tell you. Goodbye.
It's two FBI agents coming from different biases who stumble on a government conspiracy to conceal a secret from the American public, and who, through the uncovering of it, come very close together and become very passionate about their need to find the truth.
Mulder, I can't tell you what killed this man. I'm not sure anybody else could claim to either.
This is our final Neanderthal character that's found frozen in the ship, the climax of the movie. And what has happened is that the creature, the organism inside, has been living off of this body for thousands and thousands of years. So the skin has become completely clear, and it's drawn all of the musculature and most of the form out of the body, leaving this clear husk. This big area here that has been sculpted in a distended form is going to be housing the alien creature. We're going to be doing two versions. One is being done as a hand puppet for when the creature comes to life. We'll see his face pressed up from the inside and his hands pressed up against the inside, and he'll come to life and start moving as a puppet. And then we'll cut away, and when we come back, I'll have the suit on and be reaching in from the back with my whole upper body to be able to continue that process and shred through this skin and burst out through this, as well as the containment vessel, which is frozen as a solid block of ice. I mean, this has taken a great deal of time to get to this point, because it was all a process of doing sculptures and the various mold making processes and coming up with a core, which is the area inside the mold which leaves the void that we're able to put the creature inside, as well as the different painting steps, coming up with the right skin material and all the tests to find the right degree of flexibility and transparency. We had to come up with a process of casting a rigid substructure that was also clear, and the way we ended up doing that was going to a facility nearby that had a machine that allowed us to place this whole mold in, run our clear urethane material, and tumble that mold through very many degrees, many axes of movement, so we could completely coat that mold. And that was also developmental for us to be able to use that process on this particular project.
Scully?
Yeah?
Run!
Over the last couple seasons especially, I think Mulder and Scully have grown together even more. The more time that they spend together and the more times that they save each other's lives, the more respect they have, the more care they have for each other. And and that's basically continued pretty strongly over the past couple seasons. And so that's really where we find them again, is in this very productive, very respectful, working relationship.
As difficult and as frustrating as it's been sometimes, your goddamn strict rationalism and science have saved me 1,000 times over. You've kept me honest. I think that the reason the pairing works is probably because they're two interesting characters in their own right. I think people like to see a man treating a woman as an equal, not as a sexual equal, but as an equal. And a man and woman working together with that kind of respect and with that kind of reliance on each other that isn't necessarily emotional because of sexual reliance. So I think people like to see that. Within the film, there are some opportunities for them to get a little closer in certain ways than they have in the series. There's a couple events take place that brings them closer because of the nature of the situations that they're in the midst of. And so the audience will have an opportunity to see, a hint more of just a different flavor of their relationship.
I had you big time.
That official FBI business? I play a character called Dr. Alvin Kurzweil, who was a friend of Mulder's deceased father, who was his army buddy and was recruited at the same time into the workings that Mulder is also involved in. There are questions, of course, as to my whether or not one can trust me, believe me, whether there was validity to what I say.
So you're saying they destroyed an entire building just to hide those firemen?
And one little boy.
I think you're full of shit.
Do you?
Yeah.
I happen to write rather nasty books about terrible things that I don't believe in personally, but I know they sell books. One of the reasons I do that is because I'm a character who, having quit the project, has been harassed a little bit, to such a degree that I've lost my medical license in three states, which means that I have to find some way of making a living when I'm in transit to another place to build up another clientele. So he's a guy whose reasons for doing things are probably questionable. He's probably got involved with the stuff he got involved with as a young man by default. In trying to quit and get out, he found it harder to do that. I think basically he's never really fulfilled what it is he wanted to do when he was a young man, and now is coming forth with a bunch of information to either fill his books with or maybe save mankind.
Kurzweil! You'd be shit out of luck if it wasn't for me. You saw what you saw because I led you to it. I'm putting my ass on the line for
Your
you.
ass? I just got chased through Texas by 2 black helicopters.
And why do you think it is you're standing here talking to me? These people don't make mistakes.
Agent Mulder, you and I both know that if it looks bad, it's bad for the FBI. Blame has to be assigned somewhere.
Assistant Director Skinner, he's the superior. He's superior to Mulder and Scully. No, he's their superior, and they supposedly answer to him. That's the way it's kind of supposed to work. It doesn't always work that way, because they tend to go off and do what they're going to do anyway, regardless of what his input is. I think that there are elements of Skinner's personality, his character, in what I'm doing in the movie here that have been developing over the past couple seasons, and I think that they'll just continue to build, to grow.
I heard about the project from my agent who called me and asked me to be in it, and I said, well, are you sure they know who I am? I mean, I'm not possibly cool enough to be on this show. Agent Mulder, since you weren't able to be on time for this hearing, I'd like you to step outside so that we can hear Agent Scully's version of the facts, so that she will not be paid the same disrespect. She's tough and precise, you know, very officious, and yet, you know, to play someone like that, there's a real fear of being one-dimensional, so you have to, I mean, I don't hate these people that I'm confronting. I hope that some humanity shows through. She has a job to do.
I don't believe the FBI currently has an investigative unit qualified to pursue the evidence in hand.
This isn't colonization. This is spontaneous repopulation.
It's a very interesting character, and the interesting thing about it is that there's some kind of mystery about him.
Trust no one, Mr. Mulder.
A young man came up to me and said, "You're an actor, aren't you?" And I said, "Yes," thinking he's going to compliment me on my playing of Shylock, which I had done. He said, "Yes, X-Files."
Kill Mulder. We take the risk of turning one man's quest into a crusade.
Then you must take away what he holds most valuable.
I would say he is really the evil person. He's the maker, troublemaker in a certain extent, and he is creating his own world. And he's a mixture of, of evil. Rob just said to me he's a mixture of Stalin and Hitler. I mean, that's maybe not the correct interpretation, but he's creating an awful new world.
We'll continue to use them as they do us, if only to play for more time to continue work on our vaccine.
My lateness might just as well have been absence. A course has already been taken.
There are complications.
Smoking is very interesting for the character because, actually, you know, it was interesting. I was talking to somebody today, and of all the kind of metaphors that smoking provides, he suggested another one, which is smoke screen. You know, the character is a smoke screen for the reality. And of course he is. He puts up a smoke screen between the truth and the people who are looking for the truth.
We need to try our vaccine on it. And if it's unsuccessful, burn it, like the others.
The public picks up the paper every day and reads, with all too frequently, about some kind of government misdeed, some kind of lie, some kind of hoax. Not hoax, but some perpetration of something that was not in your interest. And the government apologizes for these things when they're really big and bad, and it all goes away. There is no appeal or very little chance. And so I think that the idea of a conspiracy, which goes back to the Boston Tea Party in a sense, is ingrained in the public psyche, and we are mistrustful of government naturally. And I think after Watergate, we are mistrustful of them with much more good reason.
Sir, the impossible scenario that we never planned for? Well, we better come up with a plan.